All right, YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart, and also Facebook. It's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. Here for Vernon Speak Sports and Auburn Football Sports Talk. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you feel compelled to do so. We're going to be talking about some things as it relates to the Auburn Tigers, and this past weekend, Auburn taking on LSU, losing that game 23-20. I appreciate you coming on, Mark Robinson. I'm a little earlier than normal, but want to talk about a little bit of Auburn football as Auburn enters, I think, a very interesting stretch. You got, Ole Miss coming up, and then you got Georgia and Alabama. Now, when most of the folks looking at Auburn against LSU, you probably thought, well, the season is over. Well, statistically, it is. But at the same time, it kind of isn't. We're going to talk about those things in a little bit, but I really want to really shed some light on this Auburn defense. I think Auburn's defense is definitely a entity of Auburn football right now that really could give Auburn some unique opportunities down the stretch if the offense can actually become at least sound. We're not expecting a Cam Newton / Nick Marshall type offense at this point, but a offense that can at least somewhat complement what I feel has been one of the better defenses in recent history. Terry, what's going on, man? I appreciate you joining me early this morning. Well, mid-morning. It's 11:04 in Eastern Time. Thank you for joining me. So, we're going to continue to talk about the Auburn defense and why honestly the Auburn defense was just so successful against LSU. Now, let's start with the Auburn defense at the surface level. Now, when you look at this particular performance against LSU, you can't look at it from a checker standpoint. You got to look at it more as chess. So if you're a checker thinker, you're probably not going to get what I'm talking about. But you got to look at this from a very, very chess match type of angle. I think so, too. Auburn is very talented on this defense on a lot of levels. But what we got to look at is, number one, for the LSU fans who will probably ease on to this particular video, I don't want to hear anything about the field conditions. And if the field conditions would have been a little bit different, then, LSU would have been able to score easily on Auburn. No, I don't think so. Everybody had to play with the field conditions, so we're not going to use this as an excuse. You just can't. You absolutely cannot. And I'm going to tell you why. You got to look at the numbers within the numbers. I'm going to go ahead and highlight Brian Palmer's holds on us by LSU. Oh, yeah, the holding calls are absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe that, that was allowed to happen. If Auburn sticks with Malzahn for the foreseeable future, I'm sorry, guys, I'm getting to the point where now I'm seeing now the need to get some glasses because now I got to squint to see these comments. If Auburn sticks with Malzahn for the foreseeable future, could Malzahn's abysmal start deterring offense start deterring okay, let me read this again. I told you my vision is not that good. All right, so if Auburn sticks with Malzahn for the foreseeable future, could Malzahn's abysmal offense start deterring top defensive recruits to play for Auburn? I mean, maybe, but my goodness, when you saw how Auburn performed against LSU defensively, I like what I saw. I saw the defense playing with a lot of swagger. I saw the defense playing with a lot of moxie. I saw them even taunting these guys at the line of scrimmage. I enjoyed. See, I'm a defensive guy. I played middle linebacker in high school. Did try out, but man, it's too much work. I'm telling you, man, it's way too much work trying to play college football. That's why I have the utmost respect for all of the student athletes that played college football, because I did not have the discipline and I did not have the desire to take my talents to the college level. But anyway, yeah, tough loss this weekend. Frederick Montgomery, appreciate you tuning in. Best defense of Gus Malzahn era probably gone to waste. Now, I'm going to explain, Leonard, why that is potentially, it could potentially not be the case. I think this is a situation where Auburn still actually has some opportunities to, nope, that's not true. Who is this? Jay Nunn. They were on the field too long and still kept Auburn in the game. Now, when I break down this defensive thing, I'm going to show you why the fact that LSU was on the field a long time actually beneficial to Auburn. So we'll go from there. Terry says, I had Auburn winning actually, and we should have. I think Auburn should have won that game. I think there were a lot of missed opportunities, especially with the offensive line, not necessarily their blocking per se, but the adverse positions that they put the offense in because of penalties. Because when you think about a situation with Auburn and the way the offense is predicated, usually third and, a little more than 7 is usually a problematic error, especially when you're dealing with a relatively inexperienced quarterback. Bo Nix is not a true freshman quarterback no more. We're just going to say inexperienced at this point because he's seen a lot of sample size of talent to where I think Bo Nix is going to be the beneficiary of what he experienced at LSU. Very adverse, environment. And I haven't always been the most friendly guy as it relates to Bo Nix, but I think that experience down in Baton Rouge can go a long way as to how he can help Auburn during this new stretch. So let's go ahead and talk about why the defense was so successful. Let's start out with the statistics. Usually when a team is able to execute 500 plus yards, usually it yields way more points than 23. Now, I'm going to help you guys out with this. Made 2 plays that won the game. Yes. Oh, yes. Now, when you talk about a 500-yard offense, usually you at least expect about 30 plus points. But the reason that you didn't see this is because everything that I talked about in my video last week as to what Auburn had to do to slow this LSU team down, they actually did it, and did it actually, they exceeded even what I thought they would be able to do. Number one, eliminate the big plays. If you look at the big plays statistically, LSU's biggest play was a 45-yard pass reception. LSU has averaged a big play of 56 yards per game. So Auburn cut that down by 11. I thought Auburn probably needed to be more so in the 35 to 40-ish range, but 45 as the longest play, we'll take it. And then when you look at all of the big plays in unison, if you were to actually give a average of big plays, LSU actually only executed about 20 plus yards, probably around 24 or 25 yards as the cumulative total of the average of yardage for big plays in this game. And that is a huge deal. That's the first thing. Number two, Auburn really made LSU earn every bit of the 500 yards that they got. Now, before any LSU fan again comes on here talking about the condition of the field, get off here with that. We're not going to do the whole condition of the field thing as an excuse. Auburn stopped LSU. Now back to the video. Anyway, Auburn did a very good job of making LSU earn it. When you look at the time of possession, that's a key factor in this game. You need a team like LSU, the way they score, the frequency at which they score, and the speed at which they score to have a higher time of possession than you. Because when we look at the Alabama game from the 2018, last year, you have a situation where Alabama, first half, Auburn made them earn it. Second half, Alabama scored on like 4 or 5 drives with less than 2 minutes, and they were able to do it in a real short period of time. That puts the team in a very adverse position. So, with that in mind, LSU actually having more time of possession against Auburn actually played into the game plan of what Auburn was trying to execute. Because what you want to do, LSU is going to get it one way or the other. But the way you make them get it is what really counts. LSU had to sustain drives. They had to work for it. They had to chip away, chip away, chip away, chip away, and then score. Takes up a lot of time. And then you get some stuff that I told you all needed to happen. LSU had to get a turnover. Matter of fact, they got 2. They got one on a punt, and they also had a interception by Roger McCreary in LSU's as LSU was attempting to score. The only thing about that interception by Roger McCreary is the fact that it put a very abysmal Auburn offense in a real tough position, in my opinion, because you don't want, especially on the road, as much as the offense had kind of been staggering to start out at the deep in your own territory, but at the same time, it still gave Auburn opportunities. Brian Palmer says, no, let's go to Roger Montgomery first. I feel that if they're best in, I have no complaints about the defense. Let's see. Third downs were the difference in the game. We played too many snaps because the offense couldn't convert and the defense couldn't stop Burrow from scrambling for first downs. Now, that was key. There were several third down and more than 10-yard situations where Joe Burrow found a way to make it happen. And when you have a quarterback, that plays on the magnitude that Joe Burrow does, you can expect that to happen. But even still, very successful day from the defense against LSU. I was proud of Noah Iggy. I call him Noah Igbenogany, but I feel you. He didn't get picked on and played very well overall. I think the defense did play well overall, especially to hold a offense that has averaged 50 points per game, scored 42 against Florida. I really wish I could remember the viewer's name that asked me why I thought Auburn's defense was better than Florida. I could illustrate that to him by what I saw on Saturday night. The reason why I think Auburn's defense is better than Florida is because Auburn can do so much with their defense. They can diversify so much, and Kevin Steele really illustrated that with the weird formations that he had against LSU, which when you have a prolific offense, you got to come with some weird formations. You got to come up with some weird personnel combinations. And and he did just that. I thought Kevin Steele actually earned himself a raise by his approach against LSU. Roderick Montgomery says that's the defensive template to how to beat Alabama. If we play like that on offense, on defense, I think we have a chance at home versus Bama and Georgia. I could not agree with you any more than anyone can agree, period. Let's see some more comments. We got Leonard Sambula. If I'm pronouncing your name wrong, my bad. I'm disappointed with the O-line having the same issues from the Florida game with the false starts and miscommunications. Exactly. I think that's really more so than the physicality of the offensive line. This whole thing about, jumping off sides and all this stuff, that's got to quit. Scorpio in the squad. Man, I really like your name. Shout out, check it in. What's up, Vernon Wardam? What's up to you, my friend? Scorpio in the squad, War Eagle. And I'm not going to try. Oh, Skylar, that's easy to pronounce. Template to be that defense is bouncing inside runs out. Okay. Andre Ivy. Man, okay, I'm gonna explain some things to y'all about Andre Ivy. Andre Ivy is my very first subscriber. Okay, he and I frat brothers. Matter of fact, we like brothers from another mother on the low. But he was really one of the guys that really helped me to catalyze this thing. He's been supporting me since I was doing this thing on YouTube. On Facebook, I got to give Andre Ivy a big shout out. And he actually called it. He said that this would be a 3-point game. He's kind of like a Alabama slash, not really an LSU fan, but he's got some folks from Baton Rouge. So he kind of, roots for LSU here and there. But definitely a diehard Alabama fan. And he said, look, I think Auburn will come within 3 points of this game. And he definitely called it. Very, 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 very nice prediction there to my frat brother and brother from another mother, Andre Ivy. Now we got Skylar R, almost 200 yards given up in rushing. See, this is the thing. That's why we got to think about this thing from a chess perspective versus a checkers perspective. Because when you got to run the ball, you want to force a team like LSU to have to run the ball, because what does rushing do? That eats up a lot more time, and it also eliminates the quick scores. Because if you get down, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you a good example of this. Auburn likes to go fast in basketball, right? But they roll up on a Virginia team that slows that thing down. Auburn was still effective, but they weren't as effective as they were against other teams. You basically get a team like LSU out of their element. They don't like to run the ball. They want to throw that thing. But if you force a team like LSU to have to beat you running, I think that's successful. I'll take 200 yards rushing versus 600 yards passing and 50 points. Terry says, where was Joyner, Joey Gatewood? But probably would have had a TD. We had 3 weeks to prepare, and LaCourt on offense, with an exception of a few plays. I agree. I'm not going to sunshine this thing. Auburn sucked on offense this week. Really did. And really missed out on an opportunity to put, really missed out on an opportunity to put Auburn in an easier situation down the stretch than they're in now. What you think about Gus not giving Joey at least a chance to run the offense? Now, I'm gonna answer this question in a couple of different ways. Number one, I'm in operations management myself, and I know my personnel. I know how I want things to be executed. So it could be a situation where post facto, a person that should have gotten a chance to execute some stuff just didn't. Does that mean that I'm an ineffective manager? Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, a manager or a coach or whatever, they know their personnel, they know the game plan that they have. And it doesn't always call for just saying, hey, look, we're going to bail out on the guy that we have in. I think Joey should have been the starter from the beginning. I'm talking about the beginning of the season. But now that we're in this thing, you got to go with who you have groomed to be the starting quarterback. The only thing that I have against Bo Nix in this situation here against LSU is that there were a lot of things from a visibility standpoint that I think he missed out on. But that's just something you go back and review film. You got some really, really key games down the stretch that could give Auburn some opportunity to really make some noise. We're going to talk about that a little later in the live stream. War Eagle. All right, so let's see. What do we got? What do you think about Gus? No, I answered that one already. Auburn welcomed the run game. Welcome the run. Good game plan to me. Yep. Now, are you talking about like offensively or defensively? I like the question still nonetheless. It looks kind of like I liked it. Roderick Montgomery, I was like, when I saw the formations, and with me being typically a defensive minded guy, I was like, holy this is about to be real interesting. And then I saw the guys kind of sneaking up to the line. Sometimes but man, I'm gonna tell you guys, I enjoyed this game. This is the first loss ever, like in life, that I enjoyed, because I'm such a defensive minded person, man. And I was like, man, what is this? Like, I like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got it was like a super hybrid 3-3-5 defense. Super. As a matter of fact, nothing against KJ Britt, man. They bought up like crazy personnel at linebacker. Then they snuck KJ Britt in when things started to get a little physical. I'm going to tell you guys about this defense for Auburn and why I really like Kevin Steele. because usually when a coach is like at the twilight part of their career, they don't put as much effort in. I mean, we've seen this time and time again. But Kevin still bought out some. He bought out something. He opened this thing up and said, "Look, if LSU is going to win this game, it ain't going to be on me." He really, really did an excellent job. I think this garnishes Kevin Steele a raise at, especially considering how he may play on further down the stretch. I really enjoyed what I saw from the Auburn defense this particular week. But like I said before, here's some other stats that were very important. How bad must Joy be if he isn't giving it? I'm gonna answer that question in just a second. But either way, here's the deal with the stats. We talked about some things that had to happen to disrupt Joe Burrow. Now, when you're a prolific quarterback like Joe Burrow is, you're going to get yours. And you're going to get your stats like LeBron James. He's going to get his stats, but it's how do you make him get his stats? Okay. So here's the deal. Joe Burrow on the season had been, absolutely lights out. He was actually kind of lights out against Auburn, but in a different way. But Joe Burrow, when he completed a pass, he completed, he completed a pass, and it usually goes for about 12 yards on average. Okay. But Auburn, I said earlier, what's going on? Auburn, Orange and Blues. Bob Moore, what's up, man? I see you. Anyway, when Joe Burrow completes a pass, it usually goes for about 12 yards. Okay. Now, in this particular Auburn game, I said that Joe Burrow needed to only have about, say, 10 yards per pass reception. But Kevin Steele actually whooped my goal. Joe Burrow only had 7.6 yards per completion. Okay. That's something that you got to do, right? And another thing is, forcing sustained drives. That's what you got to do against LSU. You can't let them pop you over the top. You got to make these guys literally work for every single yard. I guarantee you, if you listen to Joe Burrow, he'll probably tell you that's the hardest 500 yards that he ever had to get in his life. Also, now this is not necessarily at the surface. That's why I need y'all to think chess. Don't think checkers right now. Let's think chess today. Okay. If you look at Joe Burrow completion percentage, 79% basically all year. In this particular game against Auburn, he was only not only 76% is absolutely phenomenal, but his completion percentage was down by 3%. 76% against Auburn, which included an interception by Roger McCreary, which I think was an excellent play. Can you blame? I'm looking for the LSU fans to chime in. Come on and give me the the field condition excuse, because that is straight up bullshit. We're not doing that today. But either way, agree. You better believe other schools will be calling Kevin at the end of the season. We have to keep him. Give that man a raise. Give Kevin Steele a raise after the game he put on. He's almost, I'm sure, looks to be in his late 50s, early mid 60s. This guy really came with it in this particular game. LaMarcus Webb says, fire Gus. Well, I don't know about that, because if Auburn finishes this season strong, you're going to be stuck with Gus. All right, so what happened to the saying that defenses win championship? I can honestly, Calvin Burns. I mean, I'm just in total agreement with you. This is a championship defense. This is a defense that gave the offense every opportunity to, win this particular football game. The offense came up short. It is what it is. These guys are nasty. Yeah. Roderick Montgomery, the defense is nasty and very creative. And see, this is the reason why because the guy was like, man, how do you compare Florida and Auburn's defense? They got the same stats. You can't always look at the stats. You got to look at the game within the game. I tell y'all this all the time. The reason why I like Auburn's defense is because they are so diverse. You have so many different personnel things that you can do. You can put a guy like, say, Jeremiah Denson at middle linebacker to help yourself out with the crossing routes against LSU. And that's the kind of stuff that Kevin Steele did. And it was borderline genius. War Eagle. Both teams played on the same. Yeah, both teams played on the same field. And the reason why I bring up the whole field condition stuff is because I had this one guy, can't think of his name now, that responded to one of the videos talking about, well, if the field conditions would have been a little bit different, then LSU would have scored more points. Man, get off my channel talking that craziness. It's not out. Everybody plays on the same field. Auburn really need. Oh, yes. Auburn really. Okay. Now that you put that out there, Leonard. Yeah, Leonard. I told y'all my vision is real suspect, man. I got to get me some glasses. But anyway, Auburn really needs Georgia to play well the rest of the way. I feel like I've made this comment myself. Need to play well the rest of the way to have a shot at the play. Now, Auburn definitely needs Georgia to win over Florida. As much as I don't like Georgia, I'm rooting for them this weekend because you need Georgia to be in the top 10 when you play them and actually probably beat them in Auburn. Early prediction there. Let's see what else we got, man. We got the comments coming, man. Yes. William Gunnings, I'm convinced that if Bo Nix broke his leg, Gus would have him out there in a wheelchair. Holy crap. I hope not. That would be a very bad decision on Gus Malzahn's part, but it would show like a real high level of devotion, an unreasonable level of devotion. That is crazy, man. All right. Joey Solo says defense only wins games when the offense actually scores. I'll say this, and you actually make a good point, Joey. Defense gives you opportunities. You still got to score, though. Great point. I like Gus and his offensive scheme. I just wish we had an offense that can execute. I could not agree with you any more than that. And they're close because you all are helping me out. Like that's why I like the Fearless and True Gang. Now, that's what I call you guys. Your folks, the Auburn folks that comment on the channel, comment on the live stream. Y'all are the Fearless and True Gang. Y'all help me out, you know? But either way, here's the thing. And P.I. Christian is already, y'all are still in the video, man. Y'all are already still in the video. And what I want to talk about, that's why I like the Fearless and True Gang. I like Gus, but I wish we had an offense that could execute. We're getting kind of close to that Auburn Tigers one. See, we found out some stuff that we kind of knew, but we didn't know to the extent that we know now. I really like DJ Williams, man. That is a grown man toting that football. Okay. That's one thing we found out is that we have the opportunity to get a real deal rushing attack going. And I think that's something that Gus Malzahn didn't quite figure out. But man, you got to put DJ, you got to put him in. I like Boobie Whitlow. You got to put him in all the way. Okay. And that's something that we found out is that DJ is the real deal. Schwartz and Seth Williams are going to be your guys down the stretch. I think we need to get Eli Stove involved a little bit more. I'm still interested in why Zach Farrar is not playing. And also, J.J. Wilson, I like him too. He makes some really nice plays for the Auburn Tigers. So it's going to be interesting how Gus Malzahn utilizes some of his offensive weapons down the stretch. I mean, you just got to. You know, you at this point, you got to. You have nothing to lose. It didn't feel like an easy 500 yard. No, it wasn't an easy 500 yards, Roderick Montgomery. That was the most. I'm telling you, if I'm LSU's offensive coordinator, I'm like, man, that is the hardest. I'm talking about the most difficult 500 yards that I've ever. And see, the good thing about it is it was 300 yards passing and then 100, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't a really like a back-breaking 300 yards for the Auburn defense. What if we LSU and Auburn beats Bama? Where would we be at the end of the season? That's a good question. We're gonna talk about that later on. Let's see, I like Gus and the Oscar. Okay, we answered that already. What would it take for Auburn to make the playoffs other than a miracle? I'm going to answer that question a little bit later on, because there's a lot going on in the top 10 that I think will give Auburn and a lot of SEC teams. Well, the SEC, The SEC is guaranteed. Somebody from the SEC is getting in the playoffs. It's just how many teams in the SEC are getting in the playoffs is the thing to me. Let's see. Let's keep going. Let's keep going, y'all. On getting points in the red zone, Harold Joyner. All right, so this whole capitalization in the red zone, Auburn is struggling here. I think play calling has been, kind of shaky in the red zone. But what Auburn has to continue to do is the way you, especially in Auburn's case, you got to win on first down. What usually happens with Auburn is in the red zone, they try this cute stuff and then wound up being 2nd and 10. 2nd and 10 is a very dangerous down and distance, and a lot of folks don't see it. But 2nd and 10 is the most dangerous down and distance in the red zone, period, because 2nd and 10 puts so much pressure on you to now you got to make up, say, the 3 or 4 yards that you didn't get on first down. So now your play calling options become a little bit more limited, and you're forced to go into some, really high percentage type stuff that will probably only get you about 3 or 4 yards. And next thing you know, with the closing of the gaps, the closing of the field of, the field, it puts it, see, 3rd down and 4 or 5 in the red zone is kind of like 3rd down and 12 between the 20s, if that makes sense. So what Auburn has to do to capitalize on getting points in the red zone is they have to be smarter on first downs. I say you got to pick plays that's going to get you about 3 or 4 yards to where your playbook is wide open. You know what I'm saying? Your playbook is wide open on 2nd down. You need, in the red zone, you need 2nd and like 6 or less. You get 2nd and 6 or less, your playbook is still open. But when you got 2nd and 10, that anxiety kicks in to where you have to make up the yards that you wasted on first. So that's where Auburn can start to capitalize on red zone scoring, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answered your question. I think we're putting too much on the offense. It's the quarterback, guys. Bo cannot throw the ball with accuracy. We'll come back to that. I want to, I kind of beat Bo up this past weekend, so I'm not going to beat Bo up too bad today. I think Bo will recover and probably have a pretty good outing here against Ole Miss. Oh, man. Now, so we talked about the LSU Auburn game. Let me tell you why I think the defense has actually bailed Auburn out on a higher level. So Auburn loses this game 23-20. Let me tell you what happened, the implications of how well Auburn played on defense. Number one, LSU actually jumped Alabama to number 1 because of the game, of how physical that game was. And really, I think the media was looking at how Joe Burrow found a different part of his game. He figured out a way to make it happen even when things were hard. So I think that was something that really brought a little bit more value to this LSU team. Also, the loss to LSU only by 3 points actually garnished a little bit of media respect from Auburn to where they're just outside of the top 10 with 2 losses. What does that mean down the stretch? Well, number one, this is where the whole playoff thing, gets real tricky and will probably, be the course of some type of conversation to where we start to, think about how much different the criteria needs to be to make it into the playoffs. This probably will be the year that folks start to say, well, look, man, we got to have 8 teams here. 4 teams is not enough sample size for us to get a genuine national championship. I mean, a genuine national champion. I think this year, Auburn might not even be the team to push the envelope. But this will be the year that clearly states that, hey, we got to figure out a way to get the best possible scenario to where the true champion, wins in the end. Not because you win your conference, not because you do this and that, not because of any other, the easy ways to put folks in. it has to become a little bit more diverse. Now let's talk about the Auburn Tigers quickly. Number one, Auburn, let's just say by some um, abnormal stretch of reality that Auburn wins out. I think they split Georgia. Now, just ballpark figure, I think they at least split Georgia and Alabama, one of those games. I think the more likely game is Georgia. But either way, let's just say they win out. Auburn will be 10-2. I'm not here to figure out what Arkansas probably is not going to. I mean, LSU is probably not going to lose any game after the possibility of losing to Alabama. But here's the thing. I think that if Auburn is 10-2 at the end of the season, having beaten Georgia and Alabama, I think you really got to figure something out, because at worst they will be the number 5 team in the country. And then on top of that, the only issue would be you probably will have 2 other teams from the SEC in the college football playoff, because the Big 12 has already canceled themselves out. Pac-12 has a shot, but kind of a long shot. Neither team in the Pac-12 plays any more ranked teams until Utah and Oregon possibly face each other in the Pac-12 championship. But if Auburn wins out, they really push the envelope on this whole on this whole college football playoff thing. Because when you look at it, Notre Dame is gone. See, Notre Dame has been the team where when they're undefeated, they pretty much hold up a spot. But they're out. Oklahoma has probably ended any chance that the Big 12 will represent in the college football playoff. Now, you do have an interesting scenario to where Ohio State and Penn State play this week. I think it's this week. Ohio State is number 3. Penn State is number 5. So, Ohio State number 3, Penn State number 5. Clear, obviously a top 5 matchup. So one of those teams have to lose. Georgia and Florida is a top 10 matchup. One of those teams definitely have to lose. I'm hoping that is Florida instead of Georgia, because we need Georgia to be ranked when we play them to give some type of solidification as to further the argument, so to speak. And then you got Alabama, who takes on LSU in a couple of weeks. Now, that is a game that is a style point kind of game as to where Auburn could kind of ease their way in. Let's just say if Alabama blows LSU out, you talking about you kicking you got to kick it. See, if these top matchups for Auburn to have a chance, you know what I'm saying? These games have to be blowouts for Auburn to have a chance. You see what I'm saying? So let me bring up Skylar, who brings up a comment, and we're going to see what Skylar is talking about. Skylar says LSU wins out. Number 1, Ohio State wins out. Number 2, Clemson wins out. Number 3. Now, Clemson is a team that is in the way. Clemson is the Notre Dame, honestly, of this year, because there is very little likelihood. There's nothing that tells me that Clemson will lose anything moving forward in the ACC. If they do, good, because that will definitely, if Auburn wins out, usher a spot. That number 4 spot is going to be one that's hard to get. Oregon, Utah needs to lose. Well, Oregon has a pretty interesting opportunity to lose, because what a lot of folks don't realize is because, for one, the Pac-12 plays too freaking late, and it's not their fault that they play so late. I mean, they're on Pacific time, and a lot of times we can't catch a lot of their games. But Oregon actually plays USC this week, and I kind of was doing a little research or whatever, and USC has a lot to play for, because they actually are the front runners in the Pac-12 South, oddly enough. So, got some interesting things going on in the Pac-12 that a lot of us don't know about, because, man, it's so far. The time difference is so crazy that we usually don't really tune into the Pac-12 unless you got a game like Auburn and Oregon, or, until the college football playoff, and they just haven't been there for the last few years. Oklahoma needs to lose to Baylor. Oklahoma needs to lose again, definitely. Then AU could sneak in at number 4. See, that's what I'm talking about, guys. This season is big. See, all right. So I'm gonna help y'all out with this. Let me go back to the poll that I was looking at earlier, and I don't like to talk about ludicrous stuff that just doesn't make sense. But when I look at this top 10 poll, I'm gonna run down to you who all is in the top 10. Okay, LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson. Those are the 4 teams right now. Okay. After that, everything is shaky. I'm talking about super shaky. Penn State is shaky. Florida is shaky. Oregon is shaky. Georgia is shaky. Utah is super shaky. And Oklahoma is dead ass shaky because of that crazy loss to Kansas State. The reason why I even brought up the possibility of Auburn in this thing is because of Notre Dame being out of the picture. They're usually ones that if they're undefeated, they're in, period. But the thing that makes it interesting is Florida and Georgia are going to cancel themselves out. Oregon, I mean, they need a lot of help. You know what I'm saying? Florida Florida could lose to Missouri. Now, here's why I'm not sold on Florida. And this is not no hating type stuff, but here's why I'm not sold on Florida. Florida is a team that I just don't think has the overall totality of personnel to hold their end of the deal moving forward. I think they're going to lose to Georgia and could potentially lose to Missouri. They're one of those kind of teams. Yes, David, Penn State is definitely undefeated, but they got Ohio State coming up. And Penn State is not a team that traditionally can get it done late in the season. That's why I say Penn State is one of those shakies. Georgia's definitely shaky, losing to South Carolina. Oklahoma is shaky. Now, Oklahoma losing to Baylor would destroy. I mean, that's why I was so freaking pissed off after we lost to Florida, because I just thought that was a game we should have won. See, Minion Mafia, I know we're shaky. You know what I'm saying? I know we're shaky. We're just talking about I know we're shaky. I'm talking about the shakiness of the possibility of how we gonna get in the damn college football playoffs. Now, if we continue with our shakiness, then all of this stuff I'm talking about ain't gonna matter no way. I'm talking about the outside shakiness. We know about we know about the shakiness with Auburn, but what I'm talking about is real deal. This is the shakiest. This is easily the shakiest top 10 that I've seen in recent time, because all of the folks that usually kind of shakes things up. Oh man, and see, Skylar, let me highlight this comment. I didn't even want to bring this up. And see, that's why sometimes the fearless and true gang can kind of work against you, because they make you bring up stuff that you really didn't want to bring up to begin with. Anybody ever think what we could have been if we got Kelly Bryant? I have no comment on that. I'm gonna let y'all deal with that in the comment section, because that's a whole nother area of conversation that I can't do it right now. Lawrence is not having no difference. Knicks would have still played. Okay, so let's go back. My buddy, I'm gonna start calling David Porter David Keep It Real Porter. That's your new nickname for me. Okay. So David Keep It Real Porter says that either way, we need to just stop talking about the whole quarterback. Gus is not changing quarterbacks. That's just I think I may have done my last quarterback change video on Sunday, because I'm not getting into that no more. Gus Malzahn is going to run this program the way he wants to, and it does not seem that a quarterback change has any level of urgency with Gus Malzahn. Okay. Either way, David Keep It Real Porter has silenced me on the whole Bo Nix, Joey Gatewood controversy. I'm done. I'm not talking about it no more. Unless I actually see it, then I will comment on it. But the Bo Nix, Joey Gatewood, for me, ends today. Is it the competition ends today? It is no competition. Gus Malzahn, Bo Nix will be trotting out there as your quarterback against Ole Miss, and yeah, that's just where we at. We just have to hope that some kind of way that Bo Nix can see that intermediate route that's freaking wide open. Freaking wide open. I hope he sees it. Was open several times against LSU. Even Garrett Danielson. Now, I'm not necessarily a Garrett Danielson guru. His voice, he knows his stuff, but Garrett Danielson's voice irritates the crap out of me during games, and he's so knowledgeable that can be irritating because he calls plays before they even happen. But oh man, oh yeah, I'm done. Lisa Daniel, I am absolutely done. I will not do it as much. The thing about it, the only thing I'm gonna miss about the Bo Nix videos is that they get pretty decent amount of views. But I'm not in this thing necessarily for views, so I just won't keep giving you all pointless, baseless content. I just can't do it. Just absolutely can't do it. All right, someone told me on Facebook that Gus made it. Man, what the? Okay, let me read it because I was flabbergasted before I could get through it. But someone on Facebook told me that Gus Malzahn made a deal with the boosters to pay Bo, to play Bo this season to keep his job. I don't see the logic. Why are we okay? Let's just, even if this is the case. Also, before I say this, I just got the first like, which is okay. I mean, I'm not a big guy that, particularly cares about likes, but hey, man, it's 37 people in this thing. Let's get some more likes on this thing. But anyway, I just, this is some old Pop Warner type stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, someone told me on Facebook that Gus Malzahn made a deal. What kind of deal do you make with boosters to pay Bo to play Bo this season to keep his job? I don't even see the logic. I don't see the logic in that. I don't see, first of all, why are we even supporting a team or cheering for a team that would make decisions like this? That's some old junior high slash my son, my dad cuts the grass. I mean, all this bullshit. I don't see it. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. So let's see what else we got here. Skylar, yep, Bryant would be sitting on the bench. That would be, man, that would be horrible. Kelly Bryant sitting on the bench at Auburn. Woo. That's probably true because he didn't start Cam back in the day. He wanted to start Clint Mosley. That is terrible. Did you notice Gus didn't put a weekly tweet out because he would get slammed today because of Knicks? I don't even agree with that because I think Gus is so used to getting slammed, it shouldn't even hurt him no more. It's his accuracy that's killing him. Overthrew Seth and puts the ball behind receivers. Bo Nix wasn't, with all the accolades that he had in high school, accuracy was never one of his strong points. Gus playbook works when the quarterback actually runs the football. We haven't won a SEC championship game without a true dual threat quarterback. I wish Kerryon Johnson would have been healthy in that game against Georgia in the SEC championship game of 2017. Then I would be able to tell you are wrong, William Gunnings, but now because of that, I can't. Man, y'all are speeding up with these comments. Mark Robbins can't make deals with boosters. So we're making deals with boosters. Say it ain't so. So we're supporting a team that makes Pop Warner type decisions. That is scary. Very scary. Y'all got me off track, but I like all of this stuff that you all are posting here. Y'all ain't working today? I'm doing this thing at like 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm off today, but damn, y'all, I like this, man. I might have to start sneaking off and doing some live streams in the middle of the day. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate y'all chiming in, man. I was very shocked that we're getting the traction here that we're getting. Now, it could be y'all are at work, but you ain't working though, right? You sneaking off. You saw Vernon Speak Sports pop up, or anybody that's talking about Auburn football. You like, hell yeah, let me get this in real quick before my boss comes back in. Got Minion Mafia says I'm out of class. Minion Mafia, you are currently in school at Auburn. Is that correct? How you don't have a oh yeah, you probably got one of those situations where you got a break between like now and you got to do a lab or something this afternoon. Okay, I feel you. I feel you. All right, nah, bro. Some some of us are retired. Yeah, man. Ooh, I ain't retired yet. My brother's retired though. I got a brother that's retired. I'm getting old, man. I got a brother that's retired. What the hell? He's only in his mid-40s though. He's in the military, so people in the people in the military, like, you know what I'm saying, retire like when they're 35. You know what I'm saying, like, and be set too though. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about be super set. You feel me? Appreciate you, James. We ain't gonna get on retired military people because I'm hating big time. I'm like, as a matter of fact, I was talking to my wife last night, and I was like, you know what? If you know what I'm saying, if I had the chance to think it over, because I was actually sitting in Auburn Mall to be, Auburn Mall, they ain't really much going on. I was sitting over there in the food court talking to a military guy that was trying to recruit or whatever. And I was at a point where I was trying to figure out how I'm gonna pay these student loans, you know what I'm saying? But either way, um the thing was, I sat there and I told him no and blah blah blah. But now that I look back on it, man, the military might not have been a bad idea, because them student loan, you know what I'm saying, bills I get in the mail, might not have them if I would have went over there in Afghanistan and kind of did my thing while I was there, dodged some bullets and come back home. I don't think I would have came back uninjured, because my brother had some things that happened there, which a lot of military guys don't like to talk about. But you ain't coming back from Afghanistan if you ain't had to put in no work. That's just real. But anyway, let's see here for some band-aids after that L. Yeah, I'm telling y'all, man, that game was tough. But I'm going to give you the band-aids because, one, I think in a long shot, especially with the shakiness of the top 10, I think Auburn has a weird way to get into the college football playoff. Very weird. But yeah, got a shot. How about the refs? Now, I'm going to talk very briefly, very, very briefly about the refs, because I'm the kind of guy that I want to limit my cursing on my YouTube videos to maybe like one curse word every like 10 live streams, because sometimes right after the games, Auburn fans kind of make me mad, but I got to reel it back in. So after my first, I think the game against Florida was the one where I was pissed because somebody said something about Christian Tutt and I almost lost my freaking mind. So I'm going to limit my cursing on these videos. But the refs, oh man, the refs, woo, those holding calls, man, do you know how detrimental those? I mean, they were holding the guy like this. I'm talking about Derek Brown had to readjust his uniform pretty much every freaking play. Even if we went out, are they going to let us in the playoffs? Now, I would say if we were a different team, right? If we were, say, you know what? I'm not going to call any teams out because they can't fault what their perception is in college football. But if we were a different team, we definitely would be in the playoffs if we went out. But because we are who we are, no, we won't. Now, there's a lot of strange things numerically that have to happen that probably won't. LSU would actually have to lose 3 conference games. That's Alabama, Arkansas. See, you see the names. LSU ain't losing to them. Or yes, non-holding calls. I mean, it was obvious. I was like, oh man, can we get a call? If we could even get like a call every now, okay, you ain't got to call all of them, but call some of them, some of the holding calls, right? So, but either way, yeah, DJ Williams looked great. Raleigh is like Gus. He loves transfers. Yeah, you love the transfers because it's a quick fix. You ain't got to work. They already pretty much know what they need to do. Have experienced enough to pretty much orientate themselves immediately into your program. So yeah, if I was kind of a, because I mean, even with me, I like rehires. You know what I'm saying? Because I like rehires because they've already done it before. You don't have to train them as much, so it makes sense. How do the students feel about Bo? Let's put Minion Mafia on the spot. How do they feel about Bo? I think they love and hate Bo at the same time. I think they loved him for the whole, little Oregon situation and, some other things he's done here and there. But I think if you ask, I'll say this: it depends on what question what version of Bo you asking about. Now, if you asking about the Oregon Bo or the non road game SEC big road game SEC Bo, I think the only Bo that they don't like is the LSU and Florida Bo. None of us like the LSU and Florida Bo. We kind of can tolerate the other Bo, but the LSU, I'm talking about this dude. Like, seems like he loses his mind when he goes on the road. That crowd just has him shook. Anything third down and more than 7, we might as well just go and bring the punting team on. I love you, Bo, but I'm gonna keep giving you hell until you figure this thing out. Y'all don't know it. I'm one of the biggest Bo fans out there. That's why I criticize him so much, because I expect more from Bo. I want the poised Bo. Matter of fact, I want the Bo that I see in the interviews that says all the right stuff. It's all on me. Yeah, we know it's all on you, Bo. It is. Some of it. You got to know quarterbacks catch hell, man. They either heroes or they are the scums of the earth if they can't make it happen. But much love to Bo Nix from Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. I do give Bo a lot of flack, but I like Bo. Really like Bo. And I really like what he can potentially grow into. Bo is a great kid, humble, but no, he's not ready for SEC play. What quarterback is? I mean, coming right out of high school, went to Pinson Valley High School, completion percentage not that stellar, 12,000 yards though. I mean, that's pretty cool. May as well say all we need to be is undefeated. David, keep it real. Porter strikes again. Appreciate it, brother. Why couldn't we get Hurts, Fields, or Kelly? Are there rumors out there I don't know about? They wanted to go somewhere else. That's why we didn't get him. Vernon, do you think he better improve on the offseason, or else I'm going to really give him hell on this channel? Love you too, David. Take it easy, man. Appreciate you coming on and keeping it real with us. Yes, sir. Bo better improve over the offseason, or I am going to, because the Vernon Speak Sports thing ain't gonna stop. So he's gonna have to really come with it. Because see, here's the thing about Vernon Speak Sports that you all don't know yet is not only do I talk about football, but I was actually a pretty good basketball player. So I like basketball as well. So I will give basketball coverage. I actually, in the infancy stages of my channel, I think this is what helped my channel grow, is I did a lot of coverage with the Auburn basketball team during that late stretch. I even did a video in the middle of the basketball season talking about, how there was an interesting point of the season. If you look at, say, Auburn basketball last year versus the year before, they were kind of in that same stretch threshold. But instead, the year prior, they went backwards because of injuries and a lot of things like that. And then this year, they actually went in an equally opposite direction. So look forward to some basketball coverage as well. And these guys are going to hit the court in a little bit. And the thing about it is, Auburn's basketball team is actually not garnishing the respect that I think that they should have gotten. You don't have a team in the Final Four and then rank them like, I think right at 25. I think Auburn's basketball definitely has something to prove. And, you know, um, I think with having Bruce Pearl as the basketball coach, he did an excellent job of, continuing to wheel these guys into victory last year. Epic run for the Auburn Tigers. Look forward to talking about basketball this year. We took LSU to the limit. I told you, James Coburn, you're absolutely right. And we did it in a very chess-like manner. Yes, LSU had 500 yards, but they had to work for it. Their longest play was 45 yards. Now, if you think about it from a cumulative standpoint, LSU was the type of team that, hit you for, on an average, they're going to get you for a 56-yard long play. The biggest thing, too, that a lot of folks will not give credit for is the fact that LSU had to work. I'm talking about they really, really had to work to get the yardage that they got. Great job by the defense this past week. Bo will look worse next year. I don't know. Because Nick Marshall improved from one year to the next statistically. So I don't know if I agree with that. I'll let you, we'll maybe have a say in how the team needs to make adjustments, do the other coordinators. Now, here's the thing. I mean, I don't know if there's so much of a say as far as, hey, Gus, you need to do this. I think when you're in the game, it's like the biggest thing is execution. I really thought that Auburn did an overall okay job of making the adjustments on the fly, but often for personnel, you just add a liability. I even think if you put Joey Gatewood in there, you're at a liability in a game against LSU on the road. It's just tough. It's just really, really tough. I don't think. And the bad part about it is we don't have these conversations about Bo Nix and Joey Gatewood until we have a game like LSU. So I think the coaches see what they need to see to make obviously Auburn has only lost 2 games. Both of those games are top 10 teams on the road. And if you combine the score margin, they've only lost by 14 points to 2 of the top teams in the country on the road. So I think we just gotta go with the glass half full thing on this one, because it's really not much you can adjust because everything is there. It's just the execution is not there. I think our offense is not built for what Gus Malzahn is trying to do. We'll find out. We'll reconvene with that one on the Georgia week. If we lay an egg against Georgia, then I'm going to really lose my freaking mind on this show. Who is the new quarterback Auburn is looking for? They already got him. Bo Nix is your guy in 2020. So Gus Malzahn is sold on Bo big time. All right, so you can put Whitlow in after surgery on the goal line, but not Gatewood. See, that's all coaching stuff. Like, that's something that they saw that they felt like that it could work. It didn't. If it would have worked, we wouldn't be talking about it. So I like Gatewood. I think, matter of fact, he was my guy that I felt should have been the starter for Auburn. But, Gus and those guys, they see things a lot differently, obviously, than I do. I was actually shocked to see Whitlow in the game. Glad to see him back, though. Big shout out to Booby Whitlow on that speedy recovery. I think our offensive line is not built. Hang on. I think our offensive line is not built for what Gus is trying to do. Maybe not. We just lost 2 commitments this week because they see that Gus sticks with one player and feel as though they won't get a chance to play. Lisa, who is the other? I know we lost the kid out of North Carolina. His name eludes me right now. Who's the other guy we lost? We lost somebody else? Didn't see the news on that one. Do you think the SEC, let's see, do you think the SEC wanted a number one? Tasha Hurd, what's going on? I appreciate you. I have never seen your name before pop up. So if you are new, I welcome you to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. This is Auburn Football Sports Talk, and I appreciate your comment. Do you think SEC wanted a number one and number two team matchup next week? And that's why they're not going to let AU win this past weekend. The refs didn't hide it much very well. Nope. I don't know. I think the SEC, you gotta know that there is some financial investment in how these games turn out. I think we can't hide that fact. The SEC at definite all the teams in the SEC. What's going on? Dresden Williams, thank you for tuning in. The SEC does, and mind you, I am dancing around your question, Tasha Hurd, but the SEC has a investment to make money, obviously, and if you position things to where the SEC has like two teams in the playoffs, one of those probably being LSU, I would hope that the SEC doesn't tell the referees to not call holding calls. But yeah, they were a little bit on the obvious side. But even with the holding calls, I think Auburn still had an opportunity to win this particular football game, even with all of that said. But I don't discount the possibility. I don't discount the underlying under the table possibility. But in a glass half full kind of world, I really that I try to live in, I really hope they wouldn't. I really hope they wouldn't do that. But we can't discount the possibility. Tasha Hurd, I appreciate you again. This is the first time I've seen you comment, and definitely welcome you to the Fearless and True gang here at Auburn. Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn Sports Talk War Eagle. So, I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed you all. I see that if I can get on and help distract you to help distract you guys from work, because y'all really need to get back to work. Y'all were looking for something to get you off track. You can't blame me. I'm telling you, man, you cannot blame me for getting you off track. You know you need to send that email off, right? Some of y'all are late for meetings right now, fooling around with Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn, and I love it. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. Get your behinds back to work. I got to go back tomorrow, man. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends about Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. All we do is talk about Auburn in the most educational way possible. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.